Good morning, everyone. A warm welcome to all our guests, all our viewers. Good morning, Clarice. Good morning, Carol, Michael, Rachel, and Peter. Apologies in advance. Carol, I'm afraid I won't be able to be at the schmooze at lunchtime. We've got a double stone setting. Anyways, back to where we should be, and that is we dedicate today's learning in memory of all of those that we would be saying Kaddish for, and we wish the families long life. So, one of the themes of Chayei Sarah, yesterday we spoke about the passing of Sarah and that great test that Abraham had to face of maintaining his dignity and his composure in the face of tremendous adversity. Today we want to move on. You know, shidduchim, matchmaking, marriage is an interesting parsha. It's an interesting topic of conversation. What do you look for? What did you look for? What would you look for or what would you tell your children to look for, right? What would you tell your children to look for in a spouse? And it's interesting that the things and the values and virtues that were traditionally looked for and admired are less seen to have fallen down the pecking order. More and more you hear it's about the position in society. It's all about the wealth and the status of the individual. And these aren't really, or shouldn't be, by any stretch of the imagination, the determinants for who is going to be the right person, the right spouse, a soulmate. Let's have a look at the parsha, and then we'll understand more. Good morning, Eitan, thank you for joining us. Estelle, all the way from Stanmore, lovely to see you. So Abraham recognizes that Isaac, his son, Yitzchak, has reached marriageable age, and therefore he requires to find him a spouse, a wife. Now we have to bear in mind, we're dealing with Abraham, the greatest, the forefather of our people, and Isaac, who was the progenitor. He was going to be the future of the Jewish people, another one of the patriarchs of our people, somebody who was so pure that he was placed as a sacrifice at the time of the binding of Isaac on the altar. Never left the land of Israel in his life. So it's interesting and fascinating. What would Abraham do? How would he find a wife? So he says to his trusted servant, he says to Eliezer, he says, Eliezer, I want you to go and find a wife for my son Yitzchak, Isaac. I want you to go to Haran. I want you to go to from where I came from. And so laden with gifts, Eliezer left for Haran, okay, and he goes there. But he's given a very particular instructions about who to find and what to look for in a spouse. Was it the bank account? Was it the big house? Was it how much they were going to give or make and for the wedding, the Grosvenor House wedding? No, none of the above. He said to him, I want you to look for the values and virtues that you have seen in our own home. What are those? Chesed, kindness. So Eliezer made a deal. He was going to look, and he made a test, the litmus test of whether somebody was worthy of coming into the home and the family of Abraham and Sarah and to be the wife of Isaac. What would it be? He said, I want to see whether this person is a balas chesed, somebody who does kindness. That's what I've seen in my master's house. And therefore, I'm going to go to a well. And apparently that's where shidduchim always used to happen. If you look at the patriarchs and the matriarchs, a lot of action happens around the well. I guess it's the old-fashioned Carmelis. And basically what happened was they hung out there. And he said, whichever woman fills the offers water to feed myself and my camels, then she will have the right credentials, and that will be the test. So he goes to where the family are. Well, he goes to Haran. He goes to where Abraham had sent him, to his family, and he goes to the well. And all of a sudden, Rivka comes out, and immediately he notices that a miracle happens. The water rises. right? The water rises from the well, right, to make it easier for her to be able to draw the water to feed the camels and to give Eliezer to drink. And the question is obvious on this medrash. Why was there a need? Why was there a need for Eliezer to carry on and to push through with his test as to see whether she would give to drink not just him but his camels? Surely the fact that a miracle happened, an open miracle of this water rising, there could be no greater proof and sign that this was the girl for Isaac. Let me share with you a story which perhaps will help us understand. Okay, so the story goes about a yeshiva called Slobodka. Okay, Slobodka was one of the great yeshivas, great Talmudical academies, and the founder of the yeshiva, Rav Nosson Tzvi Finkel, was known as the Alter of Slobodka. Okay, he was known as a brilliant man, but also known, and this place was known for his humility and its humility. So one day, two students were having a discussion about a new young man called Isaac Sher, who had just entered the Talmudic Academy, the yeshiva. And one said, Isaac is a true Eloi. He's a child prodigy. He's a genius, an absolute genius. He knows the entire Talmud and all the sources back to front. The other boy listened, and then he said, I had a conversation with him yesterday, and I truly recognize that he's a real mensch. And the first student that had praised him for his genius said to him, a mensch? A mensch? I just said to you, he's a complete genius, a child prodigy, one of the future great sages, and all you can say to me is, he's a mensch? And he walked away from him. And as he was walking away, the Alter of Slobodka, the dean of the yeshiva, blocked his path. And he said to him, it's true, there's no question that Isaac Sher is a genius, a child prodigy, somebody who's going to go on and light up the world. But what is even more important in life is that you're a mensch. That's the first thing in life. Eliezer saw an open miracle. There were fireworks. He could see a clear sign. But the hallmark of being Jewish, which Eliezer wanted to see, was whether to discern whether this girl was a balas chesed, was kind, considerate, sensitive, thinking of others. Would she give to drink to the camels and to Eliezer? And if she would, and do it in the right way, with compassion and love and kindness, then he knows, and he would know that she was the right one. And friends, that is the imperative for us. Sometimes we get so distracted in life, and we put the emphasis, and we see the glitz and the glamour, and we become very drawn and impressed by a bit of silver. You know, they used to say, I just was thinking, that the difference between looking in a mirror and looking out your window at others is a bit of silver. That's the difference between a mirror where you only see yourself and a window where you look and see others. So we have to ensure, in the very materialistic world that we live, and we're not saying we have to live in a life of abstinence, but the priorities, the emphasis has to be clearly on the values, the eternal values which we cherish, which we've all seen in our parents, in our grandparents, in our great-grandparents. Kindness, menschlichkeit, that is what it means to be a Jew. So please God, we should be uplifted. We should be able to emulate those that have gone before us in being a true balei chesed, kind, compassionate, and in that way, please God, we'll see great things from our progeny. Let's move on, and we continue now with the Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He causes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Even as I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You set a table before me in the presence of my adversaries. You anointed my head with oil, my cup overflows. May only goodness and kindness pursue me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord for length of days. Memorial prayer. Adon Olam Minzacho Es Nishmos Ami Bas Aryeh Paul Kazme Shaul Ben Shlomo Yirmiyahu Ben Moshe Eliezer Shlomo Yechiel Ben Moshe Eliezer Ben Zion Ben Yitzchak Aryeh Ben Shimon Lev Bas Five Avram Mordechai Ben Moshe Katna Menashe Ben Tzvi Zalman Ralia Bas Avram Pinkus Shalachu Li'olamam Ana Balaracha Mim Zazri B'Zayis Kanavech Li'olamim V'Tiz Shlomo Zachayis Nishmasam Yanucha Mishkavasam Shalom V'Nama Amen. Long life wishes to all. Refuah Shlema. Lastly, Mi Sheberach I'm saying Rabbi Yaakov Moshe Aaron David Shlomo Yivarech Repes Ochelim Bavu Shana Mispalim Bavu Ram B'Zchus HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yimalei Rachum Yimalei Lachem Olefosam Yishlach Lehem Refuah Shlema Nishmam L'Chol Reim B'Soshach Yisrael Refuah Nefesh Refuah Guf Hashtag V'Zvakarev V'Nama Amen. Wish everyone well. Refuah Shlema to all those that are unwell. Please God, everyone should be healthy and well and be able to be inspired to follow the example of those that came before us. Have a great day. Take care. Thanks for joining us. See you tomorrow.